Good.
Still alive and kicking. So on May the 31st, Connie and I, we drove up to New York City to go to 43rd Street. You know the 43rd Street building, right? That's where UTS, which is now called HGI. And they had what's called the commencement ceremony. And I officially got the Doctor of Ministry degree. Would you like to see that, the little video? It's just 1 minute. All right, go ahead and he's going to. I thought you would like to see that. So that's kind of nice, but in the spirit world, it doesn't mean anything. In the spirit world, what matters is if we do God's will, right? That's what really matters. So an even more important event happened this week, and Bob alluded to it, and that is we celebrated all couples, most couples here celebrated our 43rd blessing anniversary, right? Yeah, so that's more important than just getting that degree. Did you like the costume? It's like, I'm going to wear that for Halloween. I think, I can be Professor Dumbledore or something like that. So anyway, that was great. So I just want to tell the story. I like telling stories rather than giving sermons, right? So stories are better. So about when I got blessed to Connie. So when I was at this was 1979, got matched to Connie, and at that time I was thinking, oh my God, I better make sure that we're compatible, right? And that we're going to get along okay, right? So I had prepared some questions to ask, my prospective wife, to get to know her a little bit. But what happened was, Father grabbed me by the shirt, pulled me over to Connie. I took one look in her eyes, forgot all the questions, and said, "Where do I sign?" And that was it. I mean, it was love at first sight. It really was. Love at first sight. So I just signed up. But then I started to struggle. Do you want to know why I started to struggle?
Yes.
Because Father made us promise something before he blessed us. He taught, and Emma, see if you remember, because we all made this promise. And what it was, Father said, marriage is the second blessing. But actually, I shouldn't be blessing you, because according to the divine principle, you should complete the first blessing first, and then receive the second blessing. So do you remember, what did Father ask us to promise? Do you remember?
One with God.
Nobody remembers, even though we all promised. Father said, so therefore, he knows where I'm going with this. Therefore, I am telling you that you must take responsibility to fulfill the first blessing on your own. Is that ringing a bell? Right, John? He said that. And we all went, Monday, yes, Father, didn't we? How's that going? How's that coming along? I think that's really funny. But I was struggling because I took it serious. And from that moment, that's in 1979, I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? How am I going to fulfill the first blessing? So how do you do it? Any ideas?
Become one with God.
Become one with God. How do you do that? True Mother gave us a hint. Do you want to hear the hint from True Mother? This is from True Mother's book, right? Mother of Peace. Yeah, can you do that? I only made 10, so may each couple. Your heart this is True Mother from her book, Mother of Peace. Your heart is your closest teacher. In the face of difficulty or confusion, ask your heart. Your heavenly parent who loves you resides deep in your heart. You are designed to hear God's true voice. We all need to hone our ability to hear the true voice of Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother in our hearts. Your heart is your eternal guardian. Okay, so what does it mean we need to hone our ability? That's really interesting. What does that mean? So, back in 1979, I started looking for, Father's words talking about fulfilling the first blessing, making oneness with God, uniting my heart with God's heart, right? So at that time, I was doing a lot of fundraising, MFT. And we had these little blue books. Do you remember the blue books, Mark? Way of God's will. Way of tradition, right. Way of tradition. Yeah, there's like 4 volumes of them. So I found some really cool quotes in there that helped me out. Father would say over and over again, to fulfill the first blessing, you have to unite your mind and body centered on God, right? How many times have you heard him say that? Like 1 million times, right? Unite your mind and body centered on God. But what does that mean? You know what I thought it meant? Because I was fundraising a lot, I thought it meant that I could push my body so that I could fundraise like 20 hours a day, blitzing in the bar, sleeping in my sleeping bag on a parking lot, that I could push my body, that the mind controlling the body. I thought that's what it meant. But is that what it means? Actually, no, it has nothing to do with that. Because if that was true, then, the gymnastics team from the Soviet Union, they would have been perfect because they had perfect, right? Their mind controlled their mind and body. But they didn't even believe in God. So that couldn't be what it was. So I found this really great, these are from that book, Way of Tradition. And it has the quote, which speech it was and what day he said it. So listen to this. In the Unification Church, we emphasize knowing that the mind is easily controlled by the invisible God. Now, I wasn't very happy when Father said it was easy. He said, it's easy, right? And that the mind must then control the body. That's the first order of business. So it's not about conquering the body. It's about uniting my mind with God's mind. It said, the mind is easily controlled by the invisible God. So he goes, your actions will follow your mind. So determine in your mind, and then your body will follow. The main thing is your mind, your state of mind. So what he's saying is, if you unite your mind with God's mind, then your body will automatically follow. How many people have children? How many people have children? Have you ever had the experience when your child was young and your child was sick and you went to bed, you're sleeping, and you're exhausted? Have you had the experience of being exhausted? But then your child starts to cry in the middle of the night. Did you just go, oh, that's too bad, I'm tired? Or did you jump out of bed and find yourself with your child? Have you had that experience? Raise your hand. How did that happen? Because your heart caused your body to follow automatically, right? The power of your love, the body just did it, even though you were exhausted. That's what I'm talking about. Then Father says, he talks about the fastest way to do this. He goes, your opportunity to live on earth is at most 70 to 100 years. But it's important that in that time, your body and mind are united into one, and you experience the love of God. Because when you experience the love of God, again, your body will just go because you're connected to the love of God. The goal is to unite your mind with God's mind, then your body will follow automatically. You need to take time to meditate. You know, I said this in a previous sermon, this quote. Meditate while longing for goodness. When you meditate, open the door of your mind, then God's original nature and your original nature will resonate together. Okay? So that's what it is. So how do you do that? How do you get your mind to unite with God's mind? There are little tricks you can use. And one of the tricks I use is before I'm going to meet somebody, I stick my finger to my eye and I say, Heavenly Parent, let me see this person with your eyes. So if you set that intention, then when the door opens and you meet the person, God's Spirit comes into you and you see that person with the eyes of God. And it's just true love. You just love everybody. Have you had the experience that people start looking more beautiful to you? Raise your hand if you've had that experience. Sometimes, like you just go into the supermarket and you're looking around at the people and you're going, wow, they're so beautiful. Have you had that experience? Yeah, many people, brothers and sisters, have had that experience. That's because you're becoming more sensitive, more resonating with the mind of God. That's what the first blessing is all about. So Father said you have to meditate, but nobody teaches us how to do that. Okay? So if you would like to do that, I would like to teach you how to do that. So I'm going to hand this out. I'm teaching a workshop on August the 30th in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Here you go. Here, let me give you these. Yeah. And it's at a spiritual like bookstore, like it's called New Earth Energies. You know, they sell these like amethyst crystals, you know, and all this kind of spiritual stuff. When I walked into the place, it was the highest spiritual atmosphere I've ever experienced. I could feel the presence of Jesus there. So it's got a really high energy, and they have a workshop space, and they're allowing me to use that space for free. Okay, so I'm charging a fee of $55 to attend this workshop. But if you can't afford the fee, just tell me, and we'll work something out. Okay? I don't want anybody to not come because of money. Okay? But I want you to look at why am I doing this? I had a dream with True Mother many years ago. It must have been like 2002. It was just before Father passed. And she was crying. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, please teach the things you've learned to all the members. Mother asked me. And at the time, I thought, that's impossible. How could that happen? And so I didn't pay any attention to that dream. Then within a couple months, I got a phone call and I was invited to travel around the world teaching this workshop. Did you know that? On a UTS sponsored it. And then, so I've taught more than 1,000 members this technique so you can fulfill the first blessing. Because if you don't fulfill the first blessing, you have to do something called returning resurrection. Who can tell me what returning resurrection is? Mark.
Is when the Spirit comes back to help people on earth restore their mistakes. So they're kind of using their descendants, guiding them to kind of overcome the mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly right. If we don't fulfill the first blessing while we're on earth, I hate to break this to you, you're not going to the kingdom of heaven. You're going to a paradise level. And you have to come back and work through your descendants. Did you know that? You've heard this before, right? But, wait a minute. That's the divine principle teaches. So if you want to go and be with true parents and be in the highest realm of heaven, you better do this. So I just want to show you, like I said, I've taught this to more than 1,000 members. There's a There's testimonies and reviews. I have hundreds of these. But I just here's one. Listen to this one. This is Tyler Hendricks, PhD. I attended Ron's workshop and learned a lot about the spirit world. I grew my heart and refreshed my relationship with my family, self, and God. Okay, here's Sherry Reuter. Ron Popolaro's workshop in Pasadena, California was healing water for my soul. I felt real hope for the future and I feel happy inside. Bill Lay. Anybody know Bill Lay? Yeah. Patricia Graham, Christy Moss. You'll know the people on this list. Many of them are leaders in our church. Taj Hamad, Philip Shanker. So anyway, I offer this to you, because I love you. And I'm going to teach you how to meditate and experience God. I'll conclude by reading one testimony. Would you like to hear one testimony of one sister? This is it's actually starting on the first page. This is a sister named Pierrette Scar. Pierrette Scar. Does anybody know her? She's from the Canadian church. She's French Canadian. So this says her experience with God. It says, I participated in Ron's workshop in Montreal, Quebec. I believe it was 2014. What I knew about God was from religion. Growing up in the Catholic Church, I didn't pay attention to God at all. My mother became a widow at the age of 28 with 4 very young children. And every time something bad happened, she would say, what did I do to God to deserve this? She would blame God for all her misery. So it seemed to me that God was a punishing God, and I wanted to have nothing to do with him if he even existed. But then I joined the Unification Church in my late 20s. The church painted a different picture of what God could be, and it intrigued me. But after many years in the UC, I began to stray. To be honest, I searched all my life for this father figure and never found it. But I found God at Ron's workshop. The workshop was a 2-day weekend at the Unification Church Center. At that time, my family was no longer going to Sunday service, and we did not have much contact with members. But a church member who knew my husband well contacted us about the workshop and encouraged us to come. I was reluctant to go, but we ended up going anyway, myself, my husband, and our oldest son, Nathan. The first day was great, and many people were having wonderful spiritual experiences. The give and take with members was very uplifting, and Ron was just fascinating to listen to. The second day came, and everybody around me was having spiritual experiences, but not me. Nothing. At some point on the second day, I remember thinking, here we go again. Nothing is happening for me. I'm not good enough for God to pay attention to me. I regretted coming to the workshop. I felt so deflated. That's when something happened. Ron was guiding us through a guided meditation. I remember him guiding us to a beach and sitting on a chair at the beach, and that's all I remember. It's really hard to describe what happened and how I felt. I wasn't in the room, and I couldn't hear Ron's voice anymore. I was bathed in light, a blinding white light. I heard nothing, but I felt a presence. I suddenly felt a love that cannot be described in human words. It felt almost too much for me. This presence was love itself. I knew without a doubt it was God's presence. I felt so immensely loved. I don't know how long the experience lasted, but I suddenly felt my body begin lifting off from my chair. I started crying, and the tears were just flowing. Then I heard my son talking to me and asking me if I was okay. So once I heard my son's voice, I came back to earth. But I didn't want to. I wanted to stay with this incredible light and love. When I opened my eyes, my cheeks were wet from my tears, and I was sobbing. My son and my husband were sitting on each side of me, and they looked worried. Nathan told me he was worried because I was crying, but also because I was starting to lift off from my chair. He also felt himself starting to lift off from his own chair. I was completely baffled by what happened and really surprised. Finally, God knows I exist, and he loves me. There's actually more, but I didn't want to take up the time. It goes on. She considers this her spiritual birthday. What did Father say? You will live from 70 to 100, but you have to, during that time, at least once in your life, experience the love of God. That's experiencing love, not just some intellectual exercise, not just believing it, experiencing it like Jesus, at the Jordan River. God came down and said, you are my son, and I love you, and I'm well pleased with you. We're all supposed to have that experience at least once in your life. Then you're good as gold. Okay? So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I will yield my time to you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much.